games.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
All that first-term lip service to gun owners is just part of a massive Obama conspiracy to deceive voters and hide his true intentions to destroy the Second Amendment.
When y'all go home and you're talking to your buddies and they say, he wants to take my gun away. You've heard it here. I'm on television, so everybody knows it. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in people's lawful right to bear arms. I will not take your shotgun away. I will not take your rifle away. I won't take your handgun away. Every American's paycheck will get considerably smaller.
As a general principle, I believe that the Constitution confers an individual right to bear arms. But just because you have an individual right does not mean that the state or local government can't constrain the exercise of that right. And, in the same way that we have a right to private property, but local governments can establish zoning ordinances that determine how you can use it.
I won't take your handgun away.
And in 1996, your campaign issued a questionnaire, and your writing was on the questionnaire that said you favored a ban on handguns.
No, my writing wasn't on that particular questionnaire, Charlie. As I said, I have never favored all-out ban on handguns.
I won't take your handgun away. I will not take your rifle away.
315 and 314 for a shooting at Century Theaters.
The emergency calls flooded in as hundreds rushed out.
I got people running out of the theater that are shot.
The victims soaked in blood, some carried out by family and friends.
I got 7 down in theater 9. 7 down.
Right now we have approximately 50 who were hit, and we have 14 dead. 10 in the theater, and 4 died at area hospitals. Approximately 12:30 this morning, a gunman appeared at the front of one of the theaters in the Century 16 Theater behind me here. Witnesses tell us that he released some sort of canister. They heard a hissing sound and that gas emerged, and that we know that the gunman opened fire. Now, I'm saying the gunman because as of right now we only know of one gunman. Police officers responded and found the gunman in the back of the theater, outside in the parking lot near a car, in possession of a gas mask and at least a rifle and a handgun. There's at least one additional weapon was found inside.
Minutes into the Batman movie, he opened fire. With his hair dyed a reddish orange, he told police he was the Joker. Trey Freeman and Ashanti Harris were among the 200 inside theater number 9. They thought it was a stunt.
Yeah, they thought it was part of the movie, honestly. Everybody thought it was part of the show.
The shooter never said a word.
He looked so calm when he did it. It was, scary.
Witnesses say he tossed what appeared to be smoke grenades. Then, pointing his weapon into the air, fired a single shot. Moviegoers dropped to the ground. Some ran for the exits. Then the suspect opened fire, spraying bullets at anyone that moved. Police found Holmes's parked car outside the back door of the sold-out theater.
He surrendered without any significant incident to our officers.
Tonight, detectives have no motive and say Holmes acted alone. 4 miles from the crime scene, police swarmed his apartment.
His apartment is apparently booby-trapped. We could be here for hours, we could be here for days.
Using a hook and ladder fire truck and a camera connected to a pole, police discovered multiple incendiary devices.
If they can't go to the movies without fear of violence lurking in the shadows. These young people can't walk the streets of their neighborhood safely. If we can't send our kids to school without worrying they might get shot. Our hearts break for the victims of the massacre in Aurora. And when there's an extraordinarily heartbreaking tragedy like the one we saw, there's always an outcry immediately after for action. And there's talk of new reforms, and there's talk of new legislation. And too often, those efforts are defeated by politics and by lobbying, and eventually by the pull of our collective attention elsewhere. But what I said in the wake of Tucson was we were going to stay on this persistently.
New gun regulations.
Yes.
New gun regulations.
Yes.
New gun regulations.
Yes.
I am not going to take your guns away.
President Obama, during the Democratic National Convention in 2008, you stated you wanted to keep AK-47s out of the hands of criminals.
The reality of gun ownership may be different for hunters in rural Ohio than they are for those plagued by gang violence in Cleveland, but don't tell me we can't uphold the Second Amendment while keeping AK-47s out of the hands of criminals. But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals. That they belong on the battlefield of war, not on the streets of our cities.
What has your administration done or plan to do to limit the availability of assault weapons?
Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was gunned down near the Mexican border last December. At least 2 assault rifles from ATF's Fast and Furious case were found at the scene. Fast and Furious allowed thousands of weapons to be sold to suspected traffickers from Mexican drug cartels. The ATF wanting to see where they ended up and in the process take down a major cartel. But the weapons surfaced in crimes on both sides of the border, including at Agent Terry's murder.
When did you first know about the program, officially I believe called Fast and Furious? To the best of your knowledge, what date?
I'm not sure the exact date, but I probably heard about Fast and Furious for the first time over the last few weeks.
However, keeping them honest, we've obtained memos that show otherwise. Weekly reports from Holder deputies to the Attorney General. Weekly reports. One, dated the week of October 18th, 2010, talks about 8 pending indictments then under seal in connection with gun running to Mexico. Quote, the sealing will likely last until another investigation, Operation Fast and Furious, is ready for takedown.
Tell me we can't uphold the Second Amendment while keeping AK-47s out of the hands of criminals.
How about the head of the criminal division, Lanny Brewer? Did he authorize it?
I'm not sure whether Mr. Brewer authorized it. I mean, you have to understand the way in which the department operates. Although there are operations, this one has gotten a great deal of publicity.
Yeah, they're dead Americans as a result of this failed and reckless program. So I would say that it hasn't gotten enough attention, has it, Mr. Attorney General?
It's not necessarily. I mean, there's an investigation that is underway.
I'm aware of that investigation. Let me follow up with a couple of questions.
And we'll have to look at that to see exactly what happened with regard to.
Well, Mr. Attorney General,
I mean, I take very seriously the allegations.
Mr. Attorney General, do you take seriously? Mr. Attorney General, do you take seriously a subpoena signed by the Clerk of the House?
Of course.
AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
There must be something in these documents, or there must be someone who observed these documents that the Attorney General is trying to keep from public view. If the Attorney General sat down and discussed it with the President, he probably doesn't want the Congress and the public to know that, because we know of the awful events that occurred as a result of the Fast and Furious.
Does the Attorney General now have to show or prove why executive privilege applies here, then?
Well, the Attorney General is arguing that the committee has to show why executive privilege does not apply. The last time this happened, 40 years ago, in the Nixon-Watergate saga. A federal district court judge got involved, and he ruled against the president, and the Supreme Court upheld his ruling.
I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
But part of it is also going deeper and seeing if we can get into these communities and making sure we catch violent impulses before they occur.
The greatest failure we've had with regards to gun violence in some respects is what is known as Fast and Furious, which was a program under this administration, and how it worked exactly, I think we don't know precisely, but where thousands of automatic and AK-47 type weapons were given to people that ultimately gave them to drug lords. They used those weapons against their own citizens and killed Americans with them.
But I think that one area we agree on is the importance of parents and the importance of schools. Because I do believe that if our young people have opportunity, then they're less likely to engage in these kinds of violent acts. We're not going to eliminate everybody who is mentally disturbed, and we've got to make sure that they don't get weapons, but we can make a difference in terms of ensuring that every young person in America, regardless of where they come from, what they look like, have a chance to succeed. And Candy, we haven't had a chance to talk about education much. When he was asked,
Mr. President, was guns here, so I need to move us along.
Understand.
You know, the question was guns, so let me
But this will make a difference in terms of whether or not we can move this economy forward for these young people.
I understand.
And reduce our violence.
Okay, thank you so much.
But I am not going to take your guns away.
This is Macy's. Report of a person that's shot.
A crowded mall in Christmas season and reports of gunfire.
So far, it looks like maybe in the area of the food court now. Sounds like it may be an actual active shooter.
Chaos amidst the Christmas shopping rush. Lines of shoppers, even children, could be seen streaming out with their hands up while a shooter was still inside.
From his car in the parking lot through Macy's, carrying an AR-15 semi-automatic assault rifle. He wore a ballistics vest packed with ammo and a hockey-style face mask. He entered the mall on the upper level. By the time he got to the food court, he was already firing, killing Cindy Ann Ewell and Stephen Forsyth. He shot down into the lower-level courtyard, too, hitting Christina Shevchenko, now in the hospital. Then his gun jammed. Police say Roberts bolted down a flight of stairs, got his rifle working again, and killed himself near J.C. Penney's.
This was a heartbreaking tragedy by any standard.
But today everyone agreed it was a miracle only 2 people were killed.
We've endured too many of these tragedies in the past few years. And each time I learn the news, I react not as a president.
Not Columbine, nor Virginia Tech, nor the Gabby Gifford shooting that took 6 lives in Tucson had much effect on the gun debate in this country. But there is nothing like the slaughter of 20 first graders to help people focus on an issue.
Good morning, everybody. It's now been 5 days since the heartbreaking tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut. That's why I've asked the Vice President to lead an effort that includes members of my cabinet and outside organizations to come up with a set of concrete proposals no later than January, proposals that I then intend to push without delay. I will not take your shotgun away.
Feinstein's legislation would ban semi-automatic rifles and handguns with a fixed magazine that can accept more than 10 rounds and require that grandfathered weapons be registered under the National Firearms Act with background check of owner and any transferee.
New gun regulations.
Yes.
Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was gunned down near the Mexican border last December. At least 2 assault rifles from ATF's Fast and Furious case were found at the scene.
Higher taxes and the abandonment of traditional values